just not enough social media out there, is there? Yes, sure. How many of you guys are using social media in some way? Just show of hands. Well, pretty much everyone. Who's using Pinterest? Oh, it's a good healthy number. Who's using Pinterest for business? Successfully? We have one. It can be so difficult to fit in posting to LinkedIn, posting to Facebook, checking out what's happening on Twitter, let alone taking on Pinterest. And often we're stuck as small business people to know which is the right tool for me to use. And I think that it's probably true to say that for most of you, fear drove you here tonight, because do I have to use Pinterest? If I do have to use it, how should I use it? Are my competitors using it? So tonight is all about trying to take the fear out of it, and I'm hoping for some of you that the decision at the end will be either, yes, I'm going to continue and strategically make it part of my marketing activity, or, you know, it's okay. I can just have fun with it if I happen to be off work and I'm in bed or I'm on the couch, but I don't have to use it for business after all. This was certainly me, and I'm sure it's probably true of some of you, when I first came across Pinterest from a recommendation from a friend. I think it was about 2012. And at first it was, oh yes, another social media, what's it, yeah, sure. Oh yes, it was quite pretty, I quite like it. And within 2 hours, pin all the things. I couldn't stop. I'm seeing a few nods of recognition from, you know, the hours that we lose getting onto Pinterest and trawling through. So basically, what is it? Pinterest is a virtual and visual pin board that we use to collect and keep a record of content that we find on the web that we want to have handy, that we think we might be able to use for the future, or that we want to share. And when we're on Pinterest, each and every one of us becomes our own publisher of our own media platform, because my content on Pinterest won't look like anybody else's. I'm going to handpick what I'm interested in and put it into certain boards and categorise it in certain ways that nobody else will. So all of our experiences of Pinterest are that little bit different. In my day, back before the internet, if you wanted to have some sort of a pin board, for example, if you were renovating the kitchen, you'd go and buy the Home Beautifuls and the Vogue Living and bring them home and cut things out and get all your little pickies and stick them up on what was called a mood board. And that was to give you an idea to inspire you, something aspirational that you wanted to do in the future. Or you would actually have a cork pin board, and you'd put all of your inspirational things, such a little bit of fabric or some colour that you like or some inspirational words, and have those above the sewing machine, for example. Now we have the opportunity to do exactly the same thing, but to do it online, accessible from anywhere, with no limits to the amount of space that we can take. If you want to have 20,000 pins on 10,000 boards, you can. You'll never run out of space. And it will never go away. Your pin boards are probably going to be there long after you, because they're always going to be in this unlimited space for you to use. This is one of my Pinterest accounts. I have two, because Pinterest recently has made it available for and prompted people specifically to set up business boards. So this is my business board, which is relatively new and as such has got relatively few followers. And I'll show you later on another one that I've got that I've been running for about 2 years, and so it's got a lot greater momentum. But as you can see here, as a lot of you who are on Pinterest would have done, for my business board I've selected business topics that, one, I find interesting and want to be able to keep record of. But more importantly, what I'm trying to do here is tell others, this is what I know, this is what I believe in. I'm an expert in my area, look at all the knowledge, some of it my own, some of it other people's who I have endorsed. So what can you do with Pinterest? At its heart, Pinterest is a way of discovering. You will get on, as we all know, click one thing, click 3 more things, 2 hours later found 10 new websites you didn't know about and subscribe to 4 more newsletters. But what you're doing is you're discovering things that you're interested in, that you believe are going to add to your life. And it allows you to be inspired as well as to aspire to the great shoes or the house or the kitchen renovation, whatever it may be. It's a tool of discovery. But equally, if you're in business, it's a tool of discovery for your customers. So you want to make sure, that's most simple, that you've got your content there for them to discover. It gives you a collection that you have curated. You have decided what elements go into it that will last, and it will keep pinning and pinning and pinning again, which we're going to address. It allows you to connect to people who are just like you. But unlike Facebook, where we tend to have conversations that can go on with multiple people joining in, unlike Twitter, where you might have very short one-on-one conversations as well as, your status updates or quickly sending everybody a link, and it's very fast-paced. Even though this is social media, it's not social media where people directly converse. I know when I first got onto it, I thought, well, surely as soon as I put something up, if someone pins it, they should comment. But that's not how we use Pinterest, even though there is a comment field available for you. How we tend to use it is we give people a virtual high five. So when they pin something that we've put up, repin it, or they press like, I know I certainly do feel like someone's gone, yep, I like that too. And then you'll take notice of who that person is, and you might follow their board or follow them back to make a connection. You're very unlikely to ever have a conversation, but you are still connecting. Pinterest also allows us better than most to spread the share. For those who are on Facebook, I'm sure you're pretty frustrated when you put a post up that's pretty good and 100 people see it, and it gets one share at the absolute most. Pinterest is all about sharing. That is the activity, though there are now also private boards where you can put some content privately that no one will share. Pinterest is going to allow you over time to keep passing on that piece of content, passing on that piece of content, passing on that piece of content. I've got things that still get pinned, and it's happened this week, that I posted 2 years ago. And I don't know, well, I wish you could find out. I don't know where they've been in the meantime and where they've travelled, but they're still getting repinned. So all of those things we're talking about are pretty much about us as people. As a person, I can be inspired and I can aspire to purchases or things that I'd like to have in my life. I can reach out and connect to someone by giving them a virtual high five. But why are we doing it for business? Why bother? Well, here's some frightening figures. 11.5 million unique visitors every month. They passed the 10 million mark in the year 2012, and it was the fastest growing social media platform ever. 70 million users worldwide, and that figure from Australia of 500,000 is also from 2012. It's probably a little bit more than that, but in actual fact I think we're a little bit behind in our take-up of Pinterest. 80% female. And why this matters is if you are targeting a male market, it's not to say don't use Pinterest, but be aware of the fact that the vast majority of people who are on it are women. The men are growing. 15 minutes per visit on average, which really frightens me because my couple of hours is really supposed to have, brought that average up. But 15 minutes per visit is a lot higher than you're going to get, say, on Twitter, which is a, quick jump in and leave. 80% are aged 25 to 54. So the majority are not, as some social media platforms will be, the majority aren't children or kids. But 70% earn less than 75K. That's an American figure. And the household ownership level demographics of people joining Pinterest is growing, and the amount is growing. But it hasn't traditionally it's been around only a few years, but it hasn't traditionally been high net worth, high AB demographics people who are on there. Pinterest drives over 40% of e-commerce traffic. Now, when you consider that your traffic to a shopping cart, if you're selling something online, could come from your newsletter, from Facebook, from your ad, from word of mouth, from someone emailing a link, from Twitter, to consider that 40% is coming from that one source shows the power for those who are into e-commerce. You might have a retail outlet as well, but if you're selling anything online to women 25 to 54, then you would probably need to argue that Pinterest is a place that you need to be, even over and above Facebook. It is the bamboo of social media. It has only just passed email for sending out links to friends and family. So when people now want to share an article, a white paper, a video, where once they'd copy that link, stick it in an email and send it to their friends, they're now doing it on Pinterest. And when you consider that email's been around for many decades and Pinterest has only been around for a few years, that's been an incredible change in how we use digital media. So what is it good for your business? The best thing it does is traffic. It drives traffic to your website. And it does so better than the other social media platforms that we have available to us. Traffic's important because once they hit your website, obviously you want to convert them. You want them to sign up to your newsletter or reach out for more information, or even just to spend more time reading about you and getting to know about your business. But the referral traffic from Pinterest is absolutely huge. It's equally as good for branding. If you want people to engage with your brand and you put up a board, or as I had my page there earlier for you, a number of boards all about marketing for small business, the time it takes for them to delve into that, have a look at a few pictures, click a few links, they're directly engaged with your brand, but they're engaged with your brand in a way that's less of a imposition, if you like, than going to your website and just having to read through all this information. They're in a comfortable place, in a warm environment to engage with your brand. Plus, the content that you repin or that you create and you put up is content of yours that is telling that person you know stuff. You're an expert in your field, or you've got the best range of whatever it is that you might be selling. So engagement and positioning your brand, far, far more successful, if you can imagine, for those who are using, say, Twitter as well, on Pinterest than it would be on Twitter. We've talked about 40% of e-commerce. It's absolutely vital if you're selling to women and you're selling online. That's not the only place that you'll get sales. It's not as effective for business to business, because in business to business, usually what happens is we need to get a brochure, we need to have a meeting, we need to get to know the professional services person before we would make an impulse buy on a shopping cart. So it's not the failing of Pinterest that makes it more successful for consumer, it's just the consumer behaviour is such that we do make impulse buys for more of our lifestyle products in the business to consumer marketplace. Obviously, it's awareness. It's another platform for you to be on, to build awareness of your brand, to make sure people know that you're out there. Because there'll be customers who prefer this platform over any other, who would prefer to see you there and don't really care what you're doing elsewhere, because this is their preference. So for those people that you can't reach any other way, this is a way of at least getting into their mind space and owning, hopefully, some of that top of mind awareness. And obviously, because it's so good at sharing, and it's all about sharing content, it drives for your business or your brand word of mouth. Marketing is, the way I look at it, it's the Sara Lee School of Marketing. There's a few schools of marketing. There's also the I think I can. There's hope as a strategy, which never works. I believe in, and the other one is it's child's play, and that's not true either, but I believe in marketing as Sara Lee, layer upon layer upon layer. So if you're evaluating Pinterest, you look at it as how it sits in with all of your other activity. You don't look at this or any other tool as being a silver bullet that's going to do it all for you. You work out what activity Pinterest can take care of, how it can then support, for example, an advertising campaign at the same time that you put on a live event, at the same time that you actually run ads. Looking upon it as, if not a layer cake, look upon your marketing as a score of music where you've got rows and rows and rows and rows of different instruments doing different tasks for you. So even though we're probably going to say today that for a lot of people Pinterest is a great tool, it should never be used in isolation, and it shouldn't be judged in isolation accordingly. To give you some examples of people who are using it really well, this particular board is called Bucket List. It is one board on an account from a married couple with 2 children who I think currently are in Sydney, who love travelling, and they've been to around 50 different countries. And to make a business out of what they love, which is always the best thing to do, they've created a blog called whytravel.blog.com, where they give advice to people about travel. They don't book travel tours, they just give you advice. You can go there if you're interested in travel and get all their advice for free. But accordingly, in giving that advice, they've used Pinterest to drive traffic to their website or their blog, where people will then sign up for further information or for their newsletters or check back regularly. And that particular board, of all of their boards, has got 4 million plus people following anything they post to it. That kind of traffic has meant that they are then able to go to Qantas and, as part of their business model, sell to Qantas cross-promotional opportunities to reach this audience. 4 million plus. This is beautiful. Honestly, WTF. This is their website. This is not their Pinterest. These girls run a blog to teach you how to do it yourself with regard to making accessories and nice designer and decor items around the home. Only one of the menu buttons, for those who can see it across on the far left, only one of the menu buttons here is actually the do-it-yourself, which is the prime purpose of this site. The rest of it is also lots of other information they put around that product, which is their collections, and they do blog posts on great artwork, and they show you the inside of beautiful aspirational homes. They also use Pinterest. Sorry, I'll go back one. They also use Pinterest to drive traffic back through to here. So people, as you can imagine, on Pinterest who are looking for how to make a bracelet or beautiful kitchen ideas, etc., will come across their boards on Pinterest, which in each and every case drives you back to their website. They're doing that instead of doing SEO. I've been into their site and done a bit of a search, and they've not optimised for any keywords at all. So I don't know how you would find them if it wasn't for Pinterest. So that's become their strategy, to use it directly to drive traffic. And their business model on that, if you're wondering, is they sell advertising on the site. Jane Wang in Antarctica, I don't know if she's really in Antarctica, is the person with the most followers on Pinterest. And her son was one of the 3 who invented Pinterest, so she would have been one of the very first users. But again, she's got 1 million followers just for the main account, let alone what's happening with the boards. There's honestly WTF, who we just saw, and some of the boards that they've got, which very much reflects what you see on their website. EfficientLifeSkills.com is a guy who works as a consultant to come out to people and show them how to be more efficient, show them how to sort out their home, how to get through their day-to-day tasks more efficiently. So he works, if you like, as a consultant. He's on Pinterest. He was teaching his young daughter, that's not her, how to tie a shoelace, and they finally had a breakthrough. And he thought, oh, I should write a blog post about this. So he wrote a blog post which he put on his website. Next thing he thought, oh, I've got to tell people about it. So he found this photo, put the text on top of it. Obviously the link in that is direct to his website where the blog post is. And he put it up and forgot about it. And in 18 months he's had 375,000 pins. Now if you can imagine that each person who's pinned that, let's just say 10%, then click through to his website. And even if just 10% of them sign up for his newsletter, there's 300, 3,000, whatever the mass is, potential leads for his business. So he's using it to convert the casual person into a closer lead, if not qualified. This is my private part of Pinterest, and one of my boards is called Creative Juices, which is all abstract art. And I thought I'd get a plug in. Yes, that is my painting, and I sold it. I was so thrilled. So I'm an artist now. Once you sell one thing, you're an artist. Wasn't to a friend either, it's a stranger. This particular board has got 7,200 and something, literally it will change as we speak, followers. I was only putting this up, nothing to do with my business, just personally, because I was interested in abstract art and I was finding these beautiful photos and I wanted to retain them, frankly, so I could copy them and try to work out how the artist has done it and paint things just as good. So I started putting up my curated collection. Every time I found one, I'd put it to Creative Juices. But other people would then see that go through the timeline or the feed on Pinterest and not only repin the works, but follow them. So then I decided, we've got, at that stage, 4,000 or 5,000 people following this. I better start putting some of my own work in there as well, because we've now built a really good audience that I can put my work in front of. And that ended up resulting in a sale. So I will flick through this fairly quickly because so many of you are on Pinterest. For anyone who's not, who decides that they'd like to be, when we finish and we've had questions, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about getting through how to actually set up your account. The other thing is that you probably would have noticed that I'm being shot at this stage, you're not. So we're going to have a video, or the audio at least, with the slides available online. So if any of you afterwards say, you know, some of those things you said were quite interesting, I can't quite remember them, I wouldn't mind hearing it again, just let me know and I'll send you the link when that's online. So signing up for Pinterest the first time means just going to pinterest.com and clicking to sign up, which you can do with Facebook if you want to, and connect it to your Facebook friends. You want to set up your personal account to start with, and if you're going to be using it for business, I think it's a really good idea to set up the personal and just put your personal interests up there, you know, cupcakes or whatever it may be. See how it works for a while before you start doing it as your business brand. Then set up your business account. What I find really annoying about Pinterest is I've got my two accounts and I have to log out of one to be able to log into one, which is quite annoying, but that's what they've got happening. I'm hoping they're going to fix that in the future so you can just switch between the two. You want to perfect your about or your profile. There's no point just having your name there. When somebody goes to your boards and goes, oh, that's really interesting, who put this up? And all of you've got is a name, you haven't got a URL, you haven't got an about section, I'm probably just going to move on because I really don't know anything about you. So you want to have a decent about for your business, which is exactly what your business does and what it represents, and your contact details. I've also seen people put their other social media addresses in there too, so that, you know, if you're someone who uses, as I do, Pinterest and Twitter, if I can see you're also on Twitter, I'll go follow you there. You want to find boards and people to follow, and one of the ways of doing that is that as soon as you set up the account, Pinterest will help you with some friends who are already there who you might know on other social media networks and give you some suggestions of who you can follow. You want to visit the goodies page that Pinterest has got and get the pin it button, which you put up into your browser, whichever browser you happen to use, so that whenever you're online, and you're not on Pinterest, but you just happen to be online, you're on the web, you see a great article, you can just go straight to the browser, put pin it, and pick the board that you want to pin it to without having to go, oh, I've got to remember this URL and log into Pinterest. And you don't have to, you just go straight to pin it and then create your boards. You want to find pinners to follow, including customers, competitors, suppliers, as well as the topics that you're interested in. And you can search on Pinterest obviously by hashtags, you can search by pinners, so the person who's got the account, or by the boards they've created, or by individual pins that might answer have some keywords in that are relevant to you. Go through and search and make an effort to build up your follower base, because every time you go and follow someone or like someone or repin their pin, it's a good chance, if they've got the time, when the email notifications start coming through that the activity is happening, that they'll quickly check you, and if they see a match, they'll follow back, and that's where you start to make a connection. Obviously your pins need to be highly visual. This is a visual medium. They also need to be really colourful, and interestingly enough, red gets pinned a lot more than blue. So if you've got a blue logo, sorry about that, but red will always get pinned more than blue. The pins that have text on the images will get pinned more often. And text on an image is also incredibly valuable for you because, as you know, those who are using it, if you have a comment below the picture that you hope connects with it or explains it, The next person who repins it can delete that comment, put their own. And it can get passed on and on and on and on, and now the message has been lost. So take the opportunity with the pictures that you're putting up to put a very short little bit of text on there that explains what it is. So if you're linking to a blog post about Pinterest, you put latest blog Pinterest with the link, so that it doesn't matter if the comment gets separated from the image. Pins with people's faces on don't get repinned. Don't know why. But it's not to say that you shouldn't do any of this. Occasionally it'd be a great idea to break, the idea of a vertical image and the idea that it has to be red and it can't have a face and it must have text, to deliberately do something horizontal, black and white, no text, so that you know it's going to absolutely stand out in somebody's field just because it is different. So don't be afraid to occasionally break the rules. Where to get images. If you use your own, of course, you haven't got the whole copyright issue. But not everyone's a great photographer, nor do you necessarily have the time. You just want to do a quick pin for a blog post that you've just done. So I use Dreamstime. They're one of the stock photo libraries, dreamstime.com. Really great range. I think because they're kind of second to iStock, that you tend to find some images that maybe you wouldn't have found. They will charge for it, but they also have a free section. Comfite, which is quite an odd name, is a website platform that brings together all the images on Flickr that have got the ability to be used with certain license agreements, which is usually, and you probably noticed through here, some of my images don't have any credit on them. They're the ones I've bought, so I don't have to. Some of them have got credits on it. They're the ones that I've got through Comfite on Flickr, but they have all been free. So if you've got the time just to put a little credit up for the photographer, you can use those images. Getty Images, which is the largest image library in the world, have recently made all their images free if you're going to use them non-commercially online with a credit for the photographer. Now, I don't know what non-commercial is. I've decided to say that today is non-commercial. Is it or not? They could probably argue that it's a commercial use. I think if you're advertising your business, it is a commercial use, but apparently blog posts and things, it's okay. So you're usually all right as long as you put a credit up for the photographer. What to pin? This is really tough. If you are a taxation accountant, you're going to say to me, but there's no pictures. There's nothing visual. What on earth am I going to put forward? You want to promote the tangible benefits of your business. So if you're doing people's tax and actually getting them a great return, one of your boards could be all the wonderful resort destinations that your clients can now go to because of the taxation money you've saved them. You have to get creative about finding images that make sense, even if you're in professional services or trades or whatever it may be, because the image has to be there. You need to communicate the essence of your brand. So the way you use that image should look like you. It should reflect your colours. It shouldn't, for example, I'm picking an odd example here, but suddenly if you use lots of bright primaries on your website, suddenly start using all these pictures that are sepia toned or look a bit old-fashioned. So they have to adhere to the essence of your brand, colours, your fonts, your values, the type of topics that your brand represents. And it should acknowledge the lifestyle of your customers. There is a feeling that, business to business marketing is different from business to consumer marketing. No, it's all the same because we are all people. We work with people that we like, and we don't leave our aspirations or our interest in football or our interest in cooking and cupcakes at the door. We're still those people even though we might be in a business to business mode. So acknowledge the lifestyle of your ideal customers within your pins, so that they feel, you're someone who really gets them. You understand me, you get me. I want to work with you. You need to think like a publisher. Now this is true whether it's Pinterest or Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. It is the era of content marketing, and that means you need to be able to create content or have content created for you that gives you a reason to share and therefore gets the attention or the eyeballs of those potential customers. And that content can be white papers or general articles, blog posts, videos, testimonials, customer reviews, competitions. you need to find a way to create content. And the first place to look at is, what do you know that is of value to someone? That can be if you're selling shoes. You must, I don't want to sell them blog posts, I want to sell them shoes. Yeah, but what about you start doing a trend report on your shoes, or talking about how to best size your shoes, or the time of day that it's best to be trying on shoes. You can always find knowledge that you know and think, well, that's pretty basic stuff that other people will be quite interested in. Then look at repurposing your content as often as you can. So if you're invited to come to Glen Ira for Business Month, which I believe is extending into the middle of June, it's so big. If you're invited to Glen Ira to talk for Business Month and you put together a presentation on slides, write it up as an article, have someone film it, take out the audio, editing some of those little pops and cracks, and put it up as a podcast, an article, a PDF that can be downloaded, and the slideshow itself on SlideShare. It's still only one piece of material, but you have an opportunity to go out in many, many locations to disseminate it in a way that different people relate to. Some would love listening to it, others would much prefer just to read the facts really quickly because that's all they've got time for. So once you've created content, look at all the places and ways you can publish it, and then use social media to cross-promote. So that's when you put all of that content up on Pinterest, tell people on Twitter, put it up on LinkedIn, etc. Here's some lovely boards. Have we got any dog breeders or dog walkers or dog sitters? This particular business takes care of dogs. And so they've got a board which is just their customers, which is all the dogs. And they are cute. This business produces stickers. You send in the design and they print up decals. Decals are as simple as what go on parquetry floor for basketball courts as to, you know, decorations on shop windows as to in offices and receptions. And they ask people, once they've sent the decal, could you please take us a photo when it's up and send it back to us to be on our wall. This is a bookkeeper based in Brisbane. What's very interesting about this is she's doing a terrific job, and I'll show you the next board. She's having a great time. If you go to a website, there's no Pinterest link. But other than that, so make sure you put your Pinterest links on your website. She has come up with a whole heap of, I think, quite creative ways to talk about a subject that for a lot of us is not all that exciting, which is doing the books. So she will have there, for example, there's one for MYOB, there's one for Xero, there's one for the taxation office. There's hits and tips for the end of financial year. There's quotes to help you be inspired in your business. She's got really quite creative about it, and having a look at this, this is one of those boards specifically. Now, what images could you possibly have? She's not the ATO. What she's using this board for is to update her clients and potential clients with the latest information that the ATO has put out. She's had to go and find the images that are going to work for those links to make it as visual as it can possibly be. This board it demonstrates to us how great Pinterest can be for your search engine ranking. If you type into Google small business quotes, this is number 2, this board, not a website, the board. The board is part of the Constant Contact account. Constant Contact are the software out of the States that help you do regular newsletters, newsletter software that's in the cloud. So they've got a number of boards, this is only one of them. But this one in particular, for people who aren't necessarily going to search for Constant Contact, search for small business quotes, find this board and all the other boards associated with it, and therefore learn that Constant Contact is about not just what it provides to small business, but generally supporting small business. And they don't have to own these keywords through Google and pay for, you know, AdWords to do it. They've just got so much traffic happening on this Pinterest page that it's got up to number 2 in the search engines, and then looped to drive traffic back to the website. So the trick to succeeding on Pinterest isn't necessarily about showing off your products or services directly. It's about finding creative ways to show how those products and services fit into the lifestyles of your target audience. This is the account of Think Tank Social Media. They're a local Melbourne firm who, I think their tagline is, "We're obsessed with social media," run by the wonderful Sam Mutner. They don't just have content on there that is particular about, this is social media, this is how you use social media, we're experts in social media. They go as far as having office must-haves. So they find any little gimmicks or furniture or artwork that they'd love to have in the office, they share that as well. So they're trying to, because they have a brand that is very open and accessible to their customers, they try to demonstrate that through how they use Pinterest. Love Paper Scissors is she's not younger than me, but an old client of mine. And she creates beautiful custom-made craft art paper shapes which are framed up. So, you know, the ones that are full of butterflies and things. And she's targeting babies, christenings, young toddler rooms, young birthdays. If you keep in mind that 40% of the e-commerce traffic is going to come from Pinterest, some of those top boards are actually her product. And if you click through to the individual pins, as you click the pin, it takes you straight to the shopping cart. So you get to see all the other things that she loves and she does and she uses for inspiration, but her products are nestled in there as well, so you can literally click the product, go straight to the shopping cart and make the purchase. And of course, she's aiming for mums, so it's an ideal place to be. So some hints and tips. Do connect all of your social media sites to each other, so that when you post something in one place, it can be very easily done elsewhere and reposted. But remember that, for example, you post something really interesting. Somebody on Twitter, not so much on Pinterest, but somebody on Twitter might say, "Oh, what a great, thanks very much for sending it." And if you're not actually there because it was just linked to something else that you did, you're losing the opportunity to engage with the person. So don't necessarily set up auto posting on social media, but do connect all of the accounts, but remember to check in on all of them and what the activities is happening and going on. And that includes making sure that you've got it very clear on your website and every page of your website, all your social media accounts. Remember to be really consistent within the board. This is the board with the 7,500 followers. I have occasionally put up there an abstract sculpture and it has not got a like or a repin, it's just been ignored. That's not what they want. The people who follow this board, they don't want to follow any of my other boards either. The people who follow this board like this very bright, abstract-y, contemporary type artwork, and that's all they're interested in following. So be consistent. Also be super, super specific. The more specific you are, the followers you get to that board are so much closer to engaging with you and being your potential customers, because you're being really specific about something they could be interested in. And frighteningly enough, when I went looking to find examples of super specific boards to share with you, there was about 20 for duct tape ideas. So in fact, that's not that super specific. There was even one that was red duct tape ideas, so you could only use red duct tape. Why? I don't know. I wouldn't follow it, but someone is. Use creative names. This board could have just been called cheese or I like cheese, but cheese is the bee's knees. Just kind of resonates, make you stop a little bit longer and look at it and more likely to follow. You could also set up group boards. Now, if you were that bookkeeper, you could set up a board that was your best cash flow hints and tips. You allow anybody who's following you when you set it up as a group board to post to it, which gets them a lot more engaged and they start to meet each other. The guys at Pinterest themselves list Sephora as being one of the best ever uses of Pinterest by retailers. The two case studies you see all the time are these guys and Lowe's in the state. This is their website, but they've actually embedded the Pinterest feed into the centre there. So the website's actually only that sort of top masthead and the template around the outside. So they haven't just put a pin it button or a pin it logo, they're actually putting their Pinterest content onto their website. More is best. I'm probably going to say there's so much stuff out there, you don't want to be bothering people. The more you tell, the more you sell. Now, I'm not suggesting that you sit back and you go, pin, 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 pin. I know what it's like when I get on there and there'll be somebody, it's usually late at night, and some American in the morning there on a Saturday, and it's my late Saturday night, and you have a look on your thing and it's the one person over and over again who suddenly has a passion for cupcakes, and that's all that's going to get posted, especially when you're doing it on your mobiles, because you've only got so much you can see. So you don't want to do it one after the other so quickly that nobody else is getting a chance to be there. Space it out a little bit. But you don't want to just do one pin a week. You have to be a lot more active than that. The actual frequency, who knows, but you need to probably check in at least daily and try to pin or re-pin at least daily to get any kind of momentum. You also want to pick the right time of the day. People aren't necessarily going to, when they get on, you know, scroll back to see what they've missed in the last 4, 5, 6 hours unless somebody else has already pinned it for you, which would be great. So if you're targeting young mums, keeping in mind that 70% of people are now accessing the net and apps via their tablets and their phones, what's the young mum doing between 3:10 and 3:20 every weekday afternoon? Standing outside the school, waiting, while she checks probably what's happening. But by 4 o'clock she's home, we've got the bath happening and dinner and the homework. Don't bother pinning to young mums between 4 and 8:30 until the kids are in bed. So think about the timing that you're using, not just Pinterest but all social media. Pinterest, of course, is a little bit more forgiving because a pin can last for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The life of a tweet is 6 hours, and the life of a Facebook post is 22. So anything you've done 22 hours ago on Facebook doesn't exist as far as the rest of us are concerned, even though it's there. Whereas the pin, because it shares so much and gets passed on and passed on and passed on, will still be giving. A pin keeps giving over and over again. So, to pin or not to pin. If your customers are there, if you have an objective of driving traffic to your website, where you in turn want to convert people or directly sell to them, if you need to position your brand, then you should be using it. But with one disclaimer. If you don't like it, and this is true of social media, if you're sitting back going, I don't get it, duct tape, why would someone take the time? I'm busy enough as it is, more of this stuff to do, then don't force it. And that would be a message I've got for everybody in all aspects of social media. Just don't force it, because you're not going to do it. You're going to try to give it a go and you're going to do it for a few weeks and then you're going to not do it anymore and it's not going to work and you're going to be disappointed with yourself. But if you think you get that you like it, as some of us really, really do, if you enjoy being on there anyway, it feels right to you and your customers are there and it reaches your objective, then you should be using Pinterest. I mentioned before about marketing being layer upon layer upon layer and there is no silver bullet. Every marketing tactic, your advertising, exhibiting at an event, networking, being on social media, every marketing tactic is WD-40 for every other marketing tactic. It's the lubricant that keeps everything moving. So in analysing today, do I or don't I need Pinterest, where does it fit in, keep in mind that it is not a solo tool, no tool is. If all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So keep in mind that it's only one of the aspects of your marketing mix and they should all be used in conjunction with each other for their own strengths and what they can achieve for you. And talking about WD-40, thousands. Couldn't even count. The screen just kept, my head was going to explode. None of these are pins by the company who makes WD-40. This is just the rest of us sharing. Some of them say the 30 only uses, and there's another one over there that says 2,000. There's 2,000 uses for WD-40. I think I will go and look at the duct tape. So that's Pinterest, folks. Thank you.